Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news as Mason Greenwood puts in a specific transfer request. Juventus could be heading for Jadon Sancho town. Also, Joao Neves and Leny Yoro, big blows in relation to those two, especially the Joao Neves one. Fabrizio dropping a story this morning that ain't good. I mean, look, it's hard to get Joao Neves. It's very hard now. Another club looks like going to swoop in. And that's the problem when you've had 20 years of the Glazers. It makes you very weak in the transfer market with all the debt and all the big wages. And you see a player that could be transformative and you probably can't do the deal. We'll talk about that. Also, very interesting piece this morning about Ten Hag's contract and how he wants certain things in that contract, which I think Ineos should allow. We'll talk about that as well. And also, there was something really important I wanted. Oh, yeah, Jarrad Branthwaite. We'll talk about what's happening with that. Also want to talk a little bit about the Euros and will it slow down the transfer window? We were meant to do a show last night at 7 o'clock. Apologies, but I would rather do the morning show, which was jam-packed, and this morning show, which will be jam-packed, than just stick in a 7 o'clock show where there wasn't much to talk about. And that's scary in a way because we normally always do an 8 o'clock show anyway, but I was struggling last night for something to do. Euros, though, just want to say thanks to everyone who's getting involved in That's Football. We're doing every watch along over there. Some fantastic conversations, some fantastic games. Of course, it's England today, but we've got Rasmus at 5 o'clock on That's Football with Christian Eriksen. 2 o'clock, it's the Netherlands against Poland as well. So get involved with that. If you're part of the community on That's Football watching the games, it's going to be a great Euros. But we've got a great show for you this morning. Lots to get into. Neves actually will start off as the story because it wasn't going to be the main story. I wanted to talk about Mason Greenwood, who we need to sell. We need to sell players quickly, whether it's Michael Elise, whether it's Jarrad Branthwaite, whether it's Joao Neves, whether it's a striker. We do need to start getting some funds in quick to help us move on multiple targets, which is what we're going to have to do. Mason Greenwood expected to go to Juventus, but apparently wants to stay in Spain. And reports coming in overnight, last night actually, that Valencia have offered £25 million for Mason Greenwood. I think this is a good news story. We'll come back to that. But as Andre says, PSG want Joao Neves. Well, look, this has literally broke in the last few minutes from Fabrizio Romano. Paris Saint-Germain are showing concrete interest in Joao Neves, one of the players high on their shortlist. Not their only option, but they're looking at him. PSG like him, and Arsenal and Man United have monitored him for months. But Benfica insist on a 120 million release clause. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be very difficult to get Joao Neves. I think there is this... there are other options out there, of course. We mentioned Zubimendi yesterday. I think Edison from Atalanta. They're different types of players, of course, but there's different midfield options. But I think when you look at Joao Neves, if PSG get involved, there's a lot of money behind them. And what I was told is what I told you a couple of days ago, is that there is something about Man United and Joao Neves. Like, they really do like him. Bruno's spending a lot of time with him, but they are in the same squad for the Euros. I think he would come to Man United as much as he'd come to any other club, but you've got to put the financial package in front of Benfica. And I just don't know how we're going to do that. United believe there might be something there, but if there isn't, they'll walk. That's what they've done with, that's what they'll do with Branthwaite. That's what they might have done with Elise. So this could be over as much as it's on. But it is a little bit frustrating that PSG want to go for him. And Paul says if he wants to go to PSG, he's got the wrong mentality. Lots of players have been to PSG. And the thing that sort of gets me going, and I will just say it, is that if PSG are looking at Joao Neves for around 100 million, why don't you just sign Rashford for 75 and replace Mbappe with a player that's got worldwide appeal and is an amazing flair player in the right system? I mean, you want to sell shirts, you want to win Champions Leagues, you want to get your fan base excited. Marcus Rashford for 75 million. Get your bid in. Let's start going. Perfect replacement, Kylian Mbappe. Massive appeal. Get those Parisians excited. This is the deal you should be looking for. You don't need Joao Neves in your midfield. You've already got some really good players in that position, like Agate and Vitina and Ruiz, I think, plays there as well. You've got so many good midfielders. You don't need to go and get Joao Neves to play in the French league which you're going to win anyway. What you need is goal scorers. You need flair. You need a shirt seller. And I've got the perfect one. But look, I don't think Marcus Rashford's going to leave. I'm just thinking I'd rather PSG give us a load of money so we could spend it on other things. But look, if they go for Joao Neves, they clearly have got the money, and I don't think Manchester United have. But it is disappointing. But to be honest with you, I would rather the Joao Neves story just disappeared really quickly and we moved on than we end up in a situation which we sometimes end up in, which is, as we saw with Frankie de Jong, where it can be quite, what's the word? It can go on for a long time, I suppose. What's your opinion on signing Alvarez from West Ham, says Greg? Well, I like Alvarez. I mean, for me, thanks for the super chat this morning, Greg. So I will answer it, of course, anyway. But I think when I look at Alvarez and Kudus at West Ham, both Ajax players that played under Erik ten Hag, I question why we didn't go for them. I thought Alvarez was a very interesting signing, but I mean, look, West Ham would now want stupid money for him anyway, wouldn't they? So I don't know how realistically that would be, but he's done well in the Premier League. And look, Palhinha at Fulham would be an interesting player as well. But Joao Neves, PSG, Fabrizio Romano, yeah, makes it more difficult. United feel that there's something there, but I think they're going to have to, figure out what that something is very, very quickly, because he's going to be playing for Portugal in a couple of days, and I think he's probably going to be one of those players that lights up the Euros and therefore becomes a prime target for maybe bigger clubs with bigger budgets than us. But you can dare to dream, I suppose. But I suppose the positive is, as I said, if we can, if it's not realistic and we can move on very quickly, then I think that's a positive. Which reminds me, in relation to Jarrad Branthwaite, I don't know where it was coming from last night because I was so wrapped up in the Euros watching the Italy game and the other games that I was getting messages about all sorts of stuff. And apparently we're going to go back in with another bid for Jarrad Branthwaite. Obviously 35 million plus 8 was rejected. Everton want about 70, which Man United won't pay, which I think is very, very intelligent from Manchester United, of course. But it'd be very interesting to see what we push to on Jarrad Branthwaite. I mean, the bottom line is we can all say walk away, and I'm sure Man United will consider that if the price gets out of hand. But this is also a player that you have to be fair. Ineos really want, Erik ten Hag really wants. So they can't just go, there's the low offer and walk away. They're going to have to negotiate a little bit. Look, it's guesswork, but I feel that Everton might end up getting north of £50 million out of us for this. I don't care if the deal's worth more than 50. I just don't want to give them outright more than 50. I don't think that is a good deal. If it's a £55 million deal with add-ons, including add-ons, fine. If it's a £65 million deal, including add-ons, fine. But I don't want to give them more than 50 up front. I think that, paying £50 million for an English centre-back who isn't even part of the Euros, who are missing one of their best centre-backs, and who has also been part of a team in the bottom half of the table. Yes, he's got a lot of talent. Yes, he's very exciting. No one else is bidding for him. And Everton, I don't think are in a position where they can start asking for stupid money. And the comparison with Harry Maguire is ridiculous, because Harry Maguire, at the time we bought him from Leicester, was established English centre-back who'd had a couple of good tournaments for England as well, and people forget that. Good morning from Boston, and cheers to 50 months a member. Has it gone quiet on Evan Ferguson, or still 80 to 100 million pounds? He would be my ideal Hoyland partner, says Sean. I think Manchester United, Sean, have a number of players out there that they would like to move on, but they're ridiculously expensive. Elise, Joao Neves, Branthwaite, also what's his name? We just spoke about him. Evan Ferguson. Brighton would want silly money for him. Mark, can the player power players force Erik ten Hag's hand by refusing offers? How does that work in the market, says Jeet? Well, you don't have to go if you don't want to go, but you're damaging your own career if you don't. Lewis Davies says, have you seen Getafe get 5th of the transfer fee? For who? Lewis. I've never... Lewis, if you're talking about Mason Greenwood, I've never heard such complete and utter nonsense in all my life. How would Getafe get a 5th of the transfer fee for Mason Greenwood when he's our player? Unless you're talking about Joao Neves. I don't know who you're talking about. You need to tell us the players. Getafe get nothing. They get you get nothing, Getafe. Get off, eh? You're not having anything for Mason Greenwood. Why would they get a fifth of the transfer fee? He's our player. We gave him on loan. Probably paid most of his bloody wages. Getafe can go forth and prosper. As if Getafe get a fifth of the transfer fee. They can get a bloody thank you, and that's it. No chance. Absolutely not. That's not happening. Let's talk about Mason Greenwood, though. This was going to be our lead story this morning. Man United need to sell. Absolutely no question about it. We need to start selling if we want to start buying more. We have a little bit of a transfer budget, but we can expand on that. Juventus were believed to be very, very close to getting a Mason Greenwood deal done for a combined package of about £40 million. However, last night it came out that a bid has come in from Valencia for £25 million up front. Apparently, Mason Greenwood prefers to stay in Spain rather than move to Italy. And therefore, his preference and request to Manchester United is that they negotiate and deliver a move to Spain. Now, look, we don't have to do that. We don't have to do that. Player power is very prominent in football these days. And if you've got a player that wants to move and the better offer comes from Saudi, the player doesn't have to go. If the player wants to not go to Juventus, then you're going to struggle to sell him there. But also, on the other hand, Man United are not going to say, off you go to Valencia for 25 million when they've got a £40 million offer on the table. So I actually think this is good news. I always felt that Greenwood's been in Spain for a year, seems to be very happy there. Why would you want to leave unless you really want to go and play for Juventus, which I probably would. I think going and playing in the Italian league would be amazing, and doing that with Juventus would be a good move for him. But if he wants to stay in Spain, fine. But the positive for me is that Valencia weren't in the conversation until last night. It's always been Getafe want to reloan him, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, Napoli. If Valencia enter the equation, then the more options that are out there, then the more chance that we will find something that fits for everybody, i.e. Greenwood, Man United and the buying club. So, I mean, look, Valencia probably haven't got that much money, if we're being honest, and I don't know what Valencia are as a football club anymore. I don't know where they finished in La Liga. I don't take a massive amount of interest in it, to be honest. But I think this is a good time for Manchester United around sales of players that people are interested in to get them actually hammered down. Mason Greenwood's not part of the Euros. Lots of clubs are looking to do business but are sort of hindered by the Euros, which I'll talk about in a moment. And as long as the deal is completed on July the 1st, financial football years don't really care. Maybe Valencia can't pay until July the 1st. We're not that far away from that. We're 2 weeks away from the end of the football financial year. The chances of somebody holding a shirt out or in before then doesn't really matter. 2 weeks will go like that, and negotiations normally will take 2 weeks or longer. So what we're looking at here is an influx of outs and ins in the first week of July, hopefully. And one of those can be Mason Greenwood. What I hope happens with Mason Greenwood is something happens, and on July the 1st, it's like, this is where he's going, he's gone, the money comes into the club. But where he's going to go, how much we're going to get for him, I've got to agree. I think that £25 million is a bit cheap for a player that's proven himself in La Liga, is still young, and has potential to grow beyond what he did last season as well. United must get moving fast if serious about clear-outs, says Stuart. Happy Father's Day, says Zach. Yep, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. Just quickly, actually, about the Euros. Jadon Sancho has now been linked to Juventus. So if Juventus don't get Mason Greenwood, they might shift their attention to Jadon Sancho, is the latest. Dortmund have parted ways with their manager. I mean, the funny thing about Dortmund is when they got Jadon Sancho, they're telling us about welcome home and how great he is, and then they don't even want to buy him. So, I mean, I don't know what Dortmund are. I think Dortmund are time wasters, to be honest. I'd rather loan Sancho to a different club. Dortmund took us for 75 million quid for Sancho. They're now getting him on loan for another year while we pay half his wages. I mean, let's break it down. Let's break it down. Man United give Borussia Dortmund 75 million quid. Couple of years later, same player goes back to Dortmund for half a season, and we pay most of his wages, and then they want us to loan him again and pay most of his wages. I'd rather give him to another club. I don't want him to go back to Dortmund. I think Dortmund had taken the piss. You don't take us for 75 million and then take the player back and we pay half his wages. It's stupid. If I was Ineos, I'd be like, this ain't happening. I didn't mind it for 6 months, but it's not happening for a whole year. It's just embarrassing. You know, they've took 75 million quid offers, and a couple of years later, we're giving him back and paying half his wages. We look like a right mug. It's almost as bad as Pogba going on a free transfer and then giving 90 million to Juventus. It's stupidity. So if Juventus do shift their opinion to Sancho, good. And also, let's be very clear here. There's going to be more than Dortmund that want to loan Sancho. Like, there is 100%. Like, especially when we're going to be paying most of the wages, most of European teams would take Jadon Sancho. So we can loan him somewhere else if we want to, but we must explore opportunities to try and sell him. And if Juventus look at him because they can't get Mason Greenwood, I think I think Sancho in the Italian league might be quite interesting. So yeah, we'll see about that. Let's just Maurice, thank you very much. Welcome this morning. Closing in on 2 million subscribers, biggest football community in the world. Thank you very much for your support, Maurice Samuel, this morning. He's just shouting out how much he loves the channel. Maurice Samuel there in the chat just saying what an amazing channel it is. We love that. Welcome to the channel, Maurice. Have a great day. Thanks very much for your support. United must get moving. We've done that from Stuart. Talking about moving, no 7 o'clock show last night because there was nothing to report. That very rarely happens, but I do remember it happening during the Euros in 2021. And I do remember it happening when the World Cup happened 18 months ago. You get 3 or 4 games a day. Everybody gets obsessed with that tournament, and your domestic club can go quite quiet. Now, there was a lot of disappointment last night when I was doing the watch along because people were like, where's the evening show for the United Stand? And I said, look, there might be 3 shows tomorrow. Might be 1 again. You have to follow the news. And we're fine. We're on That's Football. We're chatting for hours every day, so the community continues. But the reason for no 7 o'clock show last night was no news. Like, there was nothing out there. But I think there's an explanation for this. It is the start of the Euros, and unfortunately, a lot of journalists, even though there's stuff they can find out about Man United, are watching the Euros and working on the Euros and out in Germany. So there is that natural first week or so of the Euros where everybody's focused on it. But do you think that is scary? Because if it's going to be like this for the next 2 or 3 weeks, that takes us well into July and we've done no business. Absolutely not. I think this is just the opening couple of days of the Euros, specifically the opening weekend of the Euros, where everybody's just gone a bit Euros crazy. And, people are coming towards the end of their holidays who aren't part of the Euros as well. I still think, as we saw with Mourinho in 2016, that June of the Euros, Zlatan, Mkhitaryan, Paul Pogba, I think it's going to be like that. I just think last night was just a bit weird. I don't think it's going to stay like that at all. I think there's so much for Manchester United to do, and I just think it was a bit of a weird. I don't think the Euros is going to slow it down. Michael Olise probably goes to Chelsea, but he's not part of the Euros. Tadebo's not part of the Euros. Branthwaite's not part of the Euros. Greenwood, Sancho, not part of the Euros. Maguire, not part of the Euros. I think there is a lot of stuff that Man United are going to get crack on with. And I mentioned Harry Maguire because I think Maguire probably, a decision on Maguire needs to be made. And it needs to be made quickly because he will come back at the start of July and go on the tour and then probably not be in the team. And then it's like, well, what's he going to do? And I think Harry Maguire's got to take a long, hard look at the fact that the club tried to sell him last year, that he's had a reasonable season for Man. I do think with Maguire, I was really pleased with him last year, but did he have an amazing season, or was it just that he stepped in when injuries were there and did quite well? And he was injured himself quite a lot as well. He's lost his England place because of that injury. I can't see how he will start for Man United next season in the way that we want to play. I just don't think he'll be a starting centre-back. So I think Maguire has got to look at options over the next couple of weeks and be looking for a move himself. And I think there's a lot of players like that. So yeah, I don't think this is going to slow down. I think it's going to continue to be pretty hectic. And as we said on Friday, the Branthwaite deal is very active, and there's other bits going on with other players as well. I just think that what would be nice, I mean, look, things are still progressing. Joao Neves, we may be out of that race very, very quickly. Leny Yoro, I forgot to mention that. So story came in this morning that a Premier League club has had a £42 million bid rejected for Yoro because Yoro priority is Real Madrid, but Lille have rejected that bid. Well, everything we've been told about Yoro's bollocks then, isn't it? And this is what I mean about transfer stories. We've got to revolve around those 5 principles of a transfer story. It's complete and utter nonsense. It's totally true. It's a club trying to generate interest by using Man United's name. It's an agent trying to generate interest by using Man United's name. Or it's an agent trying to generate a new contract by using Man United's name. And I look at that Yoro story and I think, well, hold on a minute. Last week, people were getting, and Stefan's right, it could be Liverpool who put that bid in because they're interested. Last week, everyone's getting excited about Yoro and £30 million. And this is what I mean. You've got to be really, really careful. Savage says, if they're rejecting 42 million, how much do they want? Well, this is what I mean. Not every story that we get linked to is true. And maybe it takes a couple of weeks of the transfer window for certain people to realise this. But we're quite long in the tooth here. We've been doing it for 10 years. Last week, you've got people I respect on X, you know, getting really excited about stealing Yoro from under the noses of Real Madrid for 30 million quid. A few days later, Lille are rejecting a bid for 42 million and he still wants to go to Real Madrid. So suddenly you're like, I'm out anyway. What are we talking about here? If Lille want more than 42 million and he wants to go to Real Madrid, where are we in this game? Like, we're nowhere. Like, 42 million's way too much for us to be looking at that deal. And he wants to go to Real Madrid anyway. So you'll be very careful about what you get excited about because it can change very, very quickly. And Yoro, I think, is a deal that's going to be very, very difficult for anybody to do, especially Manchester United. Happy Father's Day, Mark. I hope you have a wonderful day. I know you're a treasure to your kids and family and hope you enjoy the football tonight, says Radders. Well, thanks very much, Radders. Loved your interaction on That's Football yesterday. Don't know what happened to Nevsta. Basically, in the, what was the first game yesterday? Switzerland against Hungary. Nevsta was on. He was targeted. He was having a good time, and then Radders sort of picked up the baton in the latter streams. But we've got all 3 today. We're in the Manchester studio for the earlier ones, and if you're watching games today, you've got to be watching it with That's Football. You know, part of the community. It's great, and of course it's England tonight, which I'll have had a few by then, I think. But looking forward to that. Happy Eid, Mark. You're an absolute legend, says Abs. Thank you very much, mate. Hope you're having a great day. And Stephen Coburn says, even 5 million for Ericsson would be a book profit. Well, it would be when he's on 140 grand a week. Hate to say it, Mark, but the 20% of the Greenwood transfer appears to be true if you Google articles from the Times, says Glenn C. How the hell can we be giving 20% to Getafe when we own Mason Greenwood? How the hell can that even be a thing? Around it here. Getafe stand to profit from a 20% sell-on clause inserted to Mason Greenwood's loan deal if the Man United striker is sold elsewhere. Oh, apparently it only matters if he's sold in January. Once the loan ends, it means nothing. Oh, okay. It's only active during the loan. There we go. I was going to say, I mean, it's a good job I found that extra bit because I'm ready to go nuclear there. I'm like, what the bloody... Imagine that. Imagine that, right? We loan Dortmund's Jadon Sancho, and if he gets sold somewhere else, Dortmund get 20%. I mean, that's the sort of thing Murta Madness would be all about. But, I mean, that Mason Greenwood's from the Man United youth setup. Why would you loan a player to Getafe and say, on top of that, you get 20%? Nonsense. So we've I don't know whether it was true, but apparently it was if it happened during the loan deal, which I think that so you'd still say why was that there, but it does make sense in this reason because you loan Mason Greenwood to Getafe, and then Getafe are like, if he does well and you let him go at Christmas, then we lose out. Whereas from Man United's point of view, they go, look, no, we want him to stay there for a year. If he goes in January, we'll give you 20% of the fee because he's only going to go if it's a massive fee. So it's sort of a way of reassuring Getafe that we want him to stay there for the year, I suppose. Nevster's back. He says, last night was a blast. Sadly, the games are on crazy times in Australia. Loving the shows, as always. Thank you, team. He's back. Nevster's back. He's back again. Will there be silence with the Copa America, though, says John Bezic. I don't think so, mate. I think it just depends on who you're looking at and what they're doing. I think gone are the days where a player playing in the Euros that you're looking at is just bunkered down and not doing anything, because if you look at somebody like a Frimpong or a Joao Neves, who we may or may not be looking at the moment, they probably play until early July, then they go on holiday. So you're telling me that we can't negotiate until the back end of July when we're on tour? I think we've got to be moving a lot quicker than that. And I think this leads quite nicely into a story that's in the Mirror this morning, basically saying that Erik ten Hag has been negotiating his new contract with Ineos, and obviously in his initial contract, he had what has been described as a veto on transfers, which basically means that if Man United try and buy a player, then Ten Hag can say no, or if they want to sell a player, Ten Hag can say no. Ineos want a lot more control, which I think we all agree with, but apparently Ten Hag in his negotiations is saying he doesn't want to be cut out completely. And he has cited his relationship with Ajax, where he had Edwin van der Sar as a CEO and Mark Overmars as a technical director. And Ten Hag has said that, look, that's the ideal system, whereby, you know, you've got this team above who do all the work, but the manager, coach has a say and is part of the committee. And I think that's the ideal. I don't think I want Man United to be the manager's got no say on transfers. But I also don't want a situation where the manager's got the final say on transfers. What I want is what Arsenal have got, what Man City have got, and that is a really strong technical team led by Barada, supplemented by Blanc, Brailsford, and obviously eventually Ashworth. Jason Wilcox is already there, and Erik ten Hag. I think they should be sat in a room regularly talking about the squad and where they can improve. And if Erik ten Hag says Frimpong, and Ashworth says, you know, Walker-Peters, then Barada goes, well, you know, I agree with Ten Hag, or I agree with Ashworth, or actually I think there's something else. That's what we want to happen. So I think Erik ten Hag is right to fight for that in the contract. I think Ineos would be right to allow that. And I don't think it should become a point of contention, because the ideal world is a manager who is coaching the team, having a say on the transfers, but not the final say. And we've said this before. The biggest example mistake we can show is what happened with David De Gea. David De Gea is a very good goalkeeper, and if we'd had him last season, we'd be in a better position, because we didn't use Onana as a ball-playing goalkeeper because of the centre-back issue, which no one could have foreseen. But from a goalkeeping point of view, David De Gea would have saved a lot of shots that Onana didn't. Now, Erik ten Hag said, and was allowed to say, let De Gea go and spend £50 million on Onana. And what the director of football should have done is said, Eric, this is too risky this summer. I agree with you in a year, but right here, right now, that £50 million could be spent on a centre-back, which is more of a priority than a ball-playing goalkeeper. We can definitely get by with De Gea for another year and strengthen somewhere else. And Ten Hag would have had to put up with that. And that's what should have happened. But what happened is they followed Ten Hag advice, which he's right, but I think it was a year early. But also, when the centre-back crisis happened, it all crashed down. So a manager must have a say, especially on sales, but the board must have the final say. And I think that's what Ten Hag is saying, and he's apparently cited what happened at Ajax and how he's worked under a system like that, where he had a big relationship with Overmars and Van der Sar. And similarly, you could see that happening with Ashworth and Barada and Ten Hag. And I want to see that. I don't want to see Brighton, where the manager is powerless and the board just does what it wants. I want to see synergy. I want to see connection. It's what happens with Pep. It's what happens with Arteta. And I'll be very surprised if Ineos don't want to do that. So I want a CEO and a director of football with the final say, but I want a situation where the manager has a say. And it's so important in relation to sales, because how do you back a manager if you're not giving them the final say on sales? I.e., if a manager says, I want to sell Harry Maguire, and then the board go, no, we really like him, that's just a mess. And that's why whenever I read stuff about people saying Ten Hag can't have any say in transfers, it's got to be taken away, I'm like, it's not just about buying players, though, is it? It's also about selling players. And if Ten Hag says sell this player, and the board say no, we're in control, you've just generated what happened to Mourinho when he said sell Martial. You've got to change that. It's been a while since I joined a live. I hope you're doing well, Mark. Did you do the Euros fantasy team? Says AM. Nah, I didn't bother with that. Linda says the atmosphere here is crazy already for the England game. Andy Weatherall's a legend. He's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much to Andy. If you're tuning in a little bit late, Joao Neves has been approached by PSG, which obviously makes it more difficult in a very difficult situation for us. Apparently, Lille have rejected a £42 million bid from a Premier League club, which is a lot of money. He wants to go to Real Madrid. Lille want more money. So that's a hell of a lot there. Also, you've got, what was I going to say? Joao Neves, Yoro, Branthwaite. We're expecting another bid to go in. We've also got Mason Greenwood, who apparently wants to stay in Spain and not go to Juventus, which is fine as long as the money is there in Spain for us to do it. 2 a.m. in California, says Clarence. Ten Hag, we've just been speaking about his contract. But yeah, sort of all of this comes together for me, whether you're talking about Ten Hag's contract, whether you're talking about Yoro, Neves, Todibo, Branthwaite, Greenwood going, Sancho going, Maguire going, whoever we want to talk about. I do think we can say this, and it doesn't mean the club will listen, because when have they ever listened? But every year, this is not scaremongering, what I'm about to say. Every year, this is total and utter common sense, and every year we fail. I look at teams like Arsenal, Manchester City, Liverpool to a certain extent, who every year seem to go on tour with pretty much the squad they're going to use when the Premier League starts. And they get 4 or 5 weeks of working with that squad. Manchester United every year go on tour, and most of the players we buy aren't there. And remember, the tour of America this year is actually 2 or 3 weeks after pre-season starts. So you look at last season, Rasmus missed pre-season, Amrabat missed pre-season, yet Mason Mount didn't, and Onana didn't. But who else did we buy last summer? Johnny Evans came in probably in time as well. But you go through previous summers, we're very late at this. And if Ineos are about, and they are, Sir David Brailsford is about, elite sports performance and mentality. Well, don't tell me, what do they say? Piss poor preparation leads to piss poor performance. We're probably setting an unrealistic, impossible targets, but when we start pre-season, we need as many of the players in that we can get. Now, of course, some of them won't be there because of the Euros. Rasmus ain't going to be there. Bruno's not going to be there. Luke Shaw's not going to be there. I understand that. But in relation to signings, we've become very, very comfortable and consistent in buying players in August or late July. And this is not good preparation for a 9-month Premier League season, which is pivotal. We've just backed this manager, and we know that this third year is going to be scrutinised massively. We have to start well. Whatever that fixture list is on Tuesday, we have to start well. And as a club, we've let down Jose, Ollie, Rangnick. Not Rangnick, he wasn't there in the summer. Ten Hag, Van Gaal. We've let them down in the past because we've not been ready for the opening day of the season. I know it's sometimes hard because you're negotiating with other clubs who are taking the piss, but we really have got an opportunity with some of these deals to be ready for that first Premier League weekend. And also, we're playing in the Community Shield the week before, which is more than a glorified pre-season friendly. It's actually quite an important game. So, it's way more than a pre-season friendly when it's Man City at Wembley. So, I want to see United around that first 2 weeks of July influxing players and removing players, because it will benefit Ten Hag, United and us as fans if we integrate quicker. Pre-season is so important for game plans, for fitness, and we need to integrate these new signings in. And I know it's going to be impossible with some, but there's a lot we can get done. And I don't want to see Donny van der Beek walking in with his, boots under his thing, smiling at the cameras. I don't want to see that, because that is, and it's not Donny's fault, but it's so symbolic of the last 10 years at Man United that we do transfers really late and we don't sell. And then pre-season training, pictures at Carrington is just players that shouldn't be here walking in with a smile on their face. We've got to grab hold of that. Radders has gifted 20 memberships. Absolutely fantastic, mate. You're a legend. Hope you're doing well. Let me just have a quick check at what other stuff is going on. Oh God, I'll tell you what, I've got to say, I don't know how you lot are feeling. I'm absolutely loving the Euros at the moment. I know the buzz will wear off a little bit at some point, but I'm absolutely loving it. And look, we're not going to neglect the United stand. Like, the United stand's going to be busy. It has been busy, but 3 games again today. Rasmus at 5, England at 8, and even the Netherlands at 2. I'm looking forward to it, so can't wait. We're covering every single game on That's Football, and the great thing is, if you're a United stander, you'll see some familiar faces this afternoon because we're going to be in the Manchester studio as well for that. But yeah, loving it. And if you're at a loose end or you're in, just want a bit of company, get involved. We were in the Goldbridge Arms yesterday. We tried that out. I loved it. I think we need to do more live stuff from there. Let me just have a quick look what's going on, because somebody just said there's some news coming out. Well, there's news coming out all the time with United at the moment, and there is some news that's coming out that's a bit crap as well. That's going to happen. Thankfully, we're not living through the world of in the nose. God, have you seen the Dutch crowd ready for the game today as well? Just loving the Albanian crowd yesterday was absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing. Somebody just said, I've got a feeling we'll walk away from the Branthwaite deal. Well, I don't know about that. Really. Well, let me put it to you like this. Let's do a quick poll. It's a Sunday morning. Why not? Will Branthwaite sign for Man United? Will we get the deal done, basically? Will Branthwaite sign? Yes or no? Just your hunch. Let's get a United stand straw poll hunch on whether we get Branthwaite. I think the components are this. Man United want him. He wants to come to Man United. He's probably one of our priority signings this summer. So that would make me lean towards yes. Everton might want stupid money and get stupidly stubborn, which would make me go towards no. If that happens, United will walk. If Everton will do a deal that's fair and we can find somewhere in the middle, the deal will get done. I believe we will meet in the middle and find a deal that works for everybody. And I believe that because I think there's a win for Everton here. I don't think this is a war. It just depends how Everton's being run as well. We might get priced out, Sud, but it depends how Everton is being run. I know they're about to get taken over, and that can lead to obvious instability. But if I was in charge of Everton, I wouldn't ban me for a start, but if I was in charge of Everton, I would be, look, we don't need the full pie now. We can take 45 million in our pocket now and have another 20 lined up in add-ons over the next few years. Deal done. And I would say to Man United, right, 45 million in our pocket now, another 15 to 20 in add-ons over the next 3 years, deal done. I'm happy with that. But let's talk about Wan-Bissaka. Let's talk about Harry Maguire. Let's talk about Ahmad. Let's talk about Lindelof. You've got 4 players there. McTominay, 5 players there. We like the look of. If I do this deal with you for Branthwaite, and we think we're doing you a good deal, we want a good deal for one of those players. And what I mean by that is 45 million for Branthwaite, we'll give you 20 million for Maguire. And that's what I would do. But it's whether Everton figure that out and whether Man United figure that out, because I think there is it's not just about the Branthwaite deal. It's very obvious that we've got players that would improve Everton at a reasonable price for Everton. We're not going to charge Everton 40 million for McTominay. We could do something there. We could do something with Wan-Bissaka. And David says 45 is an insult. But this is what I mean. If you take it as an insult, we walk. We walk. There's a clever bit of business here where we do 45 for Branthwaite plus add-ons, and then you come in and take one of our players that would help you for a bit cheaper than we would normally sell. It's how we do it. And for example, £45 million for Branthwaite, 20 in add-ons, £65 million package there, and then you take Wan-Bissaka for 20 million offers. Maybe you take Wan-Bissaka and Maguire for 45. Like, there's stuff that can be done there. And Wan-Bissaka and Maguire would make you way better. Way better. They're good players, but it's whether Everton want to do that deal. And I would say, if Everton don't want to do an intelligent deal for themselves and they want to hold out, we walk. You know, it's Robert De Niro time. Don't attach yourself to something that you can't drop and walk away from in 7 seconds. Watch the film Heat. It's an absolute classic. Robert De Niro's character is almost as good as Pacino's. He's a serial bank robber. He's a genius, and he basically says, in your life, when you can see the heat coming round the corner, don't attach yourselves to something that you can't walk away from in 7 seconds. And that's what Man United and Ineos need to watch the film Heat and follow the Robert De Niro thing, because if you have that mentality, we'll be very, very successful. Because what we've done in the past is we've become so obsessed with a deal, and actually you need to have that De Niro steel where you just go, this ain't working, walk. Walk. One of the best films I've ever seen, Heat, by the way, and a great summer film. But yeah, we need to adopt that mentality, and I believe Ineos will, where, look, Joao Neves, we really, really, really want Joao Neves, and Benfica are going, we want 100, and PSG go, we'll pay it. We go, right, fine, walk. We can't do it. We just walk. It's sad, but, you know, we walk. We find another. There's always tomorrow. There's always tomorrow. Definitely. Calvin, welcome to the Members Club. You're an absolute legend. As are all of you, absolute legends. Lovely to be with you this morning. Let me tell you about today. So we're live on That's Football at 1:30 for Netherlands against Poland. We're live at 4:30 for Denmark against Slovenia. And then we're live on That's Football as well for the England game, which kicks off at 8 o'clock. Will there be another United Stand show today? I suspect there will. The time slots for it to will be if something breaks, obviously, or probably 4 o'clock today is a decent time to do it because it's in between Netherlands and the Denmark game, or 7 o'clock, which is between Denmark and England. So we'll be live at 4 or 7 again, unless absolutely nothing happens. But I actually think there will be some stuff going on today based on what somebody said to me this morning. But we'll see how it goes. I suspect we're going to get a bit of news later. Take care, everybody. Have a great day. Happy Father's Day, Eid as well to everybody. Lots going on. And I will see you a little bit later. But don't forget, get yourself on That's Football today for all the watch-alongs. Some great chat and banter going on. And you're very welcome there. Get on it. Speak to you all in a bit. Take care.